Hi everyone, I've got a bit of a story time for you today. This is something that was taking up a lot of my energy a few weeks ago. It was really stressful and I wanted to wait until it was fully resolved, and it is, before I shared it with you guys. And I wanted to share what happened because you guys, some of you might be navigating the same issues. So I wanted to let you know what happened and how the whole thing was resolved. But this is the story of when Amazon sent all of my stock back and it all got damaged on the way. So it was really horrible. Before I get into the story, I'm really sorry if the lighting in here is off. Basically, it's the middle of the day and it's really wintry, so the daylight is awful. So I've tried to compensate with interior lights. I don't know if there's weird shadows or if it looks strange on camera, so I'm sorry if it does, but it might look fine. I don't know. Anyway, here's the story. So I used to sell my books, my children's books, on Amazon via Fulfilled by Amazon. So that's when you send a box of your stuff, whatever it may be, in my case books, to Amazon. They keep it in their warehouse, and then if a customer orders it, they send it. So it means that they deal with the packaging, the shipping. It means that the customers can benefit from Prime. So it's really good for the customer. It is expensive for the seller because I have to take all of Amazon's postage and all of that fees out of the unit cost. Whereas now I've changed over to doing merchant fulfilled shipping. So Amazon notify me of a sale and then I package it up and send it, but the customer has to pay shipping. So I wanted to use Fulfilled by Amazon so that it encouraged sales, so it was good for the customer. It actually transpired, sorry, I know this is a tangent, but it's relevant. It turned out that I was losing money because Amazon's fees had gone up, my printing costs had gone up, so I had only been making pennies on my Amazon sales, and it ended up that I was making a loss, pennies again, but a loss nonetheless. So what happened and the fact that I was making a loss meant that I've moved my books over to merchant fulfillment. So if you try to buy my books on Amazon, you'll see that you have to pay shipping now, and you can see when it's me, my company is Sartain Publishing Limited, so that's the seller, but I had no choice, I can't make a loss, and yeah, what happened was made things difficult too. So there are two books that are currently still FBA, so Fulfilled by Amazon, and that's the hardback of Lily the Limpet Gets Lost and Secret Seagrass Meadows. So those are still FBA until the stock is gone. Anyway, here is what happened. So I had Lily the Limpet Gets Lost and Milk and Cookies, both as FBA. And I started making a series about Amazon for independent authors, so how to set up FBA or merchant fulfillment and all that stuff. And I haven't finished that series yet. I will do. There's one more installment, which is how to send your books to Amazon, but I won't be sending any more books to Amazon. So I need to figure out a way of kind of going through the process without finalizing the process. So I will do it at some point, but that's why there's a delay on that one. So because I was making this series, I logged into my dashboard on Amazon Seller Central, and not something I do that often because I don't sell many books through that route. So I don't have to be in there changing things and whatever. So I logged in to look at the fees and noticed that my books, some of them were listed as being bigger or heavier than they actually are. So you can actually go into the help section and request that they remeasure them. So I was doing that. So I was in the process of each book getting them to go and find it in the warehouse, measure it again, because it affects the postage costs. So I was paying too much for Amazon to send them, which impacts my profit or lack of even more. So I was doing that. And while I was in there looking at the fees, sorting out the weights and measurements, I noticed that I had a notification that said, we informed you a while ago that we now only hold stock for a year. Now, they probably had notified me, but I get a lot of emails from Amazon and they all go in my junk folder. And a lot of them are like marketing or stuff I don't need to know. I'm generally pretty good at checking through my junk folder, but there are times where I might have a number of emails through Amazon, from Amazon, and I'll be like, oh yeah, Amazon, blah, 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 doesn't affect me, I'm not going to read them. I've got a lot of emails. I just, I'm not going to check through each one. That's not who I am. So the chances are that at some point there was an email, the subject line didn't make me realise that it was something that mattered, and I just deleted it. Fine. I had this notification that said our policy had changed. Your books need to be returned to you. They've been in our warehouse for over a year. So you either need to give us your address or we'll destroy them, unless you want us to destroy them. And we will, if you would like us to. What would you like? Because you will have to pay for us to send them back. So I thought about it and I thought, well, I'd rather have the stock. I can sell it on if I've got it, whereas if they destroy it, then, that's lost. So I'll have it back. So I filled in my address and it basically triggered them to go, okay, we'll send it all back. As I said, I was in the middle of having them measured. So I'm also getting emails saying, we can't find your books because they're in transit to me. So it's all this like admin and trying to sort out what they've been charging me and if it was right, and they can't find the books, and it's all whatever. Anyway, so I figured out, it was clear from what they'd said that these books were on their way to me. I was like, okay, they can't find them, they're in the post. Now, naively perhaps, I assumed that they would all be in one place, in some warehouse in the UK somewhere, maybe in the box I sent them in, I don't know, and that they could just pick up that box, put a label on it, send it back to me, and I would get my books back. Not what happened. It turns out that, it makes sense that when they get your books, they then distribute them to all their different places, to where they think they're going to be sent from. So maybe some in the southeast, some in the southwest, some in the Midlands, I don't know. So they had maybe somewhere between 8 and 10 different locations that my books were in. I can't remember now, there were a few. I think it might have even been 10. So this became apparent when a package appeared with one book in it. And I was like, oh dear, just one book. Right, so they're going to come in dribs and drabs. So, this book has arrived. I, had a look at it and I noticed that it was damaged, that it was sort of scratched up, not badly, but like it had obviously been moved around a lot and not been taken care of, and the laminate on it was scraped. It didn't look new, and the corners were bent in from where it had been posted, and it wasn't in great shape. So I was like, well, that's annoying. Let's see how the others arrive. So every day I'm getting a couple of books. They sent something like 30 something, 32 maybe, books back to me, but in packages of at the most like 5. So I'm getting all these books coming to me. Now, as they were arriving, I was looking in these packages and the books showed signs of damp. So they were, wiggly along the edges where they'd clearly been stored somewhere that wasn't dry or, and in the winter you pay more to Amazon for the fact that the warehouses are heated. The storage fees are more in the winter. And I'm looking at these books. One of them was even mouldy. So they've all got like bashed in corners. When a book isn't new and just the corners are fluffy. And the hardbacks are all actually like bashed in. And some of them are ripped. And they're all sort of a bit scraped up and just not new looking, And I was really upset, and as well as that, I'd got them sent to my home address. I do have an office address, but I'm glad I didn't give that because they were coming in multiple packages and it would have really annoyed the venue accepting all of these packages all of the time. They were also coming at weird times of day. Actually, were they? No, they weren't, because they were coming, although they were Amazon packages, they weren't coming from the Amazon delivery person, they were coming via Royal Mail, so they were coming at my post times. Anyway, they were coming to my house and we were going away. So I left a note for my postman and said, you know, if you've got any parcels, could you please leave them with somebody else, because I knew these books were coming. We had probably another 2 or 3 of these parcels while we were away, and they got left in the shed. So they weren't left, you know, safely. They were put in a shed. So they were damp, even more damp than the others were. You know, all of these books, they hadn't been sort of carefully couriered to me. Now, when I send them to Amazon, they're sent via UPS and it's all sort of receipted. They receive them. I get a notification to say that they've got them, and it's all, you know, secure. They are handed to me or to them. You know what I mean? Whereas these had just been kind of put in the post and, yeah, not handled well. And another thing in amongst all of that, I know this has got a bit and this, but they were in the, you know, book envelopes, and because there might be a few different titles in that envelope, so a few of the paperback of Lily and a few of the hardback of Milk and Cookies, and they're all different sizes, and they've been sort of stacked up, but not in any manner that would keep any of them safe. So where they're sort of stuck out, and then that parcel has been manhandled as they are, you know, that's why you package stuff securely. And so the edges were all bent and bashed up, and one of the parcels hadn't even been closed. There were big gaps in the sides of it where it had been folded but not folded properly over. Some of the parcels were sort of ripped and, you know, basically the whole shipment in some way or other had meant that the books got damaged, whether because it hadn't been packaged properly or because it had just clearly been slung about. Some of the books, like I said, it was evident they'd been damaged in the warehouse. It wasn't just the posting. You could see that they'd been moved around, like I said, like ripped or scratched or bashed about. So some of it was in transit and some of it, I believe, was before. The one that was mouldy, clearly in the warehouse. So I've got all of these books. I contacted Amazon and said, look, this is what had happened. So I kept them all separated in the different parcels they arrived in. So they said, okay, we need photographs of all of this. So I took photographs of each package and the books that were inside it and sent that and said, this is what's happened. So they said, okay, we need photographs of all of the packing labels. Not all of the packages had packing labels in. So I sent the ones that I had and said, I'm sorry, this is all I've got. Then they said, okay, we need photos of each, is it FN's SKU? Basically they wanted the books separated into the different ISBNs. So here's the paperback Lilies, here's the hardback. Well, the hardback Lilies didn't come back. More on that later. So separate the 3 different ISBNs that I had come back to me, showing the damage of every single book and then them together so that they could identify that. Fine. So I sent like 100 photos in total, and you could only add 2 to the emails. So I put them all into like my Google Drive, shared that, here are the photos. So they've had photos of the package with then the stack of books that were in that packet and showing the damage across all of those books. Then they've had pictures of the stack of each type of book and then individually every book of that type all sent to them. And this has taken me a lot of time, and it was upsetting as well to be going through these books and, you know, when it's creative, it's just really sad. And tell you what else bothered me is that if that was the way they were posting the books to the customers, were my customers receiving books like this that were damp and mouldy and ripped and scratched. Like, is that how they were being looked after? I was really disappointed. So they then said, please could we have photographs of the individual books now categorised by their package again? And I was like, no, can't. No, because I've separated them because you asked me to. You have got all of the photos that you're going to get of these books. You've seen enough, like I've sent you hundreds. So that is it. That is the damage, you know, you can see how bad it is. And, you know, these books have value to me, so they, you know, they cost me something. It cost me something to send them to you. It's cost me something for you to send them back to me. And right now, I can't sell those books via Amazon because I don't know what to do until this matter is resolved. So I'm sat here with all these books and I'm really worried about what my customers have been receiving. So, you know, tell me what you're going to do. So it took them a couple of days. They were very good at messaging me daily, emailing me daily to say, you know, we're still in process of sorting this out. They were very good at, when they needed information, asking for it. Although it annoyed me when we got to that point with the photos where I was like, come on. You know, they were forthcoming in trying to resolve the issue. But if I didn't answer within a day, they would close the case. So I'd have to be on it. But you can reopen it, right? So you know, they were handling it pretty well. So they had a look and then they said, we will compensate you for the books. Now, here's where there's a bit of an issue. What they do is they don't say to you, how much did your books cost you? So I could have proved to them what my unit cost was for each book. They just choose a price, and that price is based on the list price of your book, not just from you and what you said the RRP is, but also anybody else. So you know when you get those used sellers, those too. So they pick a price, basically, and they say that is what your book is worth. And that's the money that you get. And I went back to them and said, not quite. You know, don't forget, you charged me to post these books to me in this condition. So, you know, and they came back and said, no, that's our policy. And I checked and it is their policy. So yes, if a book arrives damaged, they will give you compensation, but it's just the figure that they think it should be, and that's the end of the matter, and you can do no more. So if you come across this one, if for whatever reason you've had books sent to you, it could also happen if you had a customer return and you decided to have it sent to you and it arrives damaged and it is clearly Amazon's fault or it's happened in transit, they will ask you for lots of evidence. So don't just open the packages, you know, have all the books. They will want to see what's in each parcel. They will want to see packing notes. They'll ask you for various things. So just be prepared. Keep everything and keep the books as they were until you're happy that Amazon have seen enough evidence, because you need to provide all this evidence. So there's that. Keep communicating with them, you know, keep kind of saying to them, look, this has to be sorted. They do it. As I say, it wasn't quite resolved as happily as it could be. I have got these books. I can do something with them. You know, I could, some of them aren't awful, so I could potentially donate them somewhere. I'll think of something. Does anyone want some damaged books? So, you know, all is not lost. I have them at least. They weren't destroyed, so, you know. And they were, every single one was damaged. It was not even as if... Anyway, so the upshot is I did receive some compensation. Wonderful. I'm very grateful. And thank you to Amazon for that. It's great. And I do have the books, so that's good too. And the matter is dealt with. So that's good. So what I decided to do, even though, as I say, the compensation wasn't quite there, but it wasn't too far off. What I've decided to do is that my books will move over to merchant fulfillment. So those 3 ISBNs that came back to me are now merchant fulfilled. One of the used sellers, has priority over me, which is annoying, but whatever. And then currently the hardback of Lily the Limpet Gets Lost is not out of its year, and I thought, well, rather than risk it getting damaged or any of that debacle, I'll leave the stock there that's there, and if it sells, wonderful, and if it comes back to me when it's a year old, fine, it is what it is. So I'll have some of those turning up at some point. And unfortunately, when all of this had happened, I had just sent off a stack of Secret Seagrass Meadows to them as well. So literally the box had just gone a few days before. So that's also fulfilled by Amazon until the stock runs out. So yes, I'm making a loss. That doesn't mean I don't want you to buy it from Amazon. If you would like to buy it from Amazon, if that works for you, then I'm happy if you leave me a review, because it shows up as verified purchase. So all is not lost on that stock. I don't make an enormous loss. It genuinely is pennies. So, and I'd rather that those books sold than that they all got sent back to me in, you know, questionable ways. So I'm happy for those books to sell. If you want to buy them from Amazon, then please do. There's no issue with that. But they will all be moving over to merchant fulfilled once the stock is gone from Amazon's warehouse, which will save me money, which is wonderful. I know they won't sell as well that way, but they weren't selling very well anyway. And it's a lesson learned. I learned how the whole thing works. It means I've used all the different kinds of Amazon selling. So, you know, every cloud and all that. So yeah, if you are using Fulfilled by Amazon, that the overall message, if you are selling FBA through your Amazon Seller Central, don't send them many copies. You know, send them what you genuinely think you will sell. Just send a little box. They don't need to hold that much stock. So if they do send it back, it's not much, you know. If you do sell loads, you can send more. So I sent them loads because I was like, fine, have it. You know, you may as well store a load. But you have to pay warehousing. And like I said, and if you're not happy, or if it's not, you haven't sold enough in the year and that stock is sat there, then, you know, and it appears to me it's not being stored in the most optimum way. Books do get damaged by damp and being moved about and stuff. So I would say that the less time they're in the warehouse, probably the better. So send them a good amount of stock. Read your messages that go into your junk. And if you have an issue, if they arrive damaged, raise it. It does get dealt with. It is annoying. Make sure you've got evidence of everything, and they will sort it. And that's that. Also look at your fees. Look at what you're paying, because it's a lot. And it's hard to make a profit via Amazon when you sell FBA. So that's what happened. That's the end of my story. I hope it's helpful to some of you. Maybe you're going through a similar thing, or it helps protect you in the future in, you know, not sending them so much or anything like that. So yeah, hopefully it helps you guys. Anyway, hit like if you enjoyed my little story. I will share these things with you guys. I've got no issue with Amazon. You know, they say they dealt with it. They aren't set up for small businesses like me. They're set up for large businesses sending them huge amounts of stuff. So, you know, it is what it is. And I'm fine with it. And I still use Amazon I sell my books just a different way. I buy from Amazon. It's all fine. We're still friends. Yeah, so I'm not making like some kind of hate video. It's just this is a thing that happened, and this is how I navigated it, and it's a thing that could happen to you. So the end of the story. Right, yeah, hit like if you found it helpful, and leave a comment if you've experienced a similar thing, and I'll be back soon for another video. Take care.